So back to energy, we are oil dependent at the present time. We had a company that has a long history of good relationships with the United States, BP, had an accident 1 in 5,000 wells, which is far better record than NASA has. They both do equally, they both do equally dangerous, approximately equally dangerous work. Now, they had to drill where they had to drill because they were not allowed to drill near shore, which Obama changed, and then he changed again.
Yeah, flip-flop a little bit.
During this time period, BP set up a $20 billion fund. We attacked them. I had to turn it off. The way our Congress totally lacked decorum in their questioning of these people.
Yeah.
Congress also knew, as we found out very shortly afterwards, that the Russians are building nuclear oil drilling ships, massive ships, to go out into the Arctic to look for oil there. Does Congress really believe that it is in our best interest to alienate BP, which has shown good faith in a bad time, in favor of a president who has a teenage tantrum on a beach, and a Congress that has absolutely no decorum and alienates all of our friends? I mean,
Wait, you out, just turn around tape it. Understand what's going on.
Get your mind off 10% unemployment rate.
Yeah, it's a diversion. These guys are desperate. You know, Zach says things. You know, it's just unbelievable. We filed an election complaint against him for an ad he ran in Columbus TV this past summer, and you know, we wanted bipartisan unanimous ruling that he didn't tell the truth. He distorts the facts, doesn't do his due diligence, and I think he's lost trust of the people because he hasn't been totally honest. And,
right. And on top of that, is it true that he's investing in Brazilian offshore?
Yeah, well, George Soros, I've heard is, and they're drilling, out in international waters in the Gulf.
Yeah.
No, we need to have a national energy policy, okay? And what that has to be is, let's unleash our American people. I'm for a diversification. I support all energy sources, okay? And I think that we're getting back to where we have to have, if we're going to have this economy that we need to grow that grows jobs every month, we got to have an energy supply to fuel that economy. And oil's a big part of that, coal's a big part of that, natural gas is a big part of that. Biodigestion, I am a strong proponent, advocate for biodigestion. We've got a facility, Quasar, just opened up here south of Zanesville. They got them the experimental part at the Research Center in Worcester. That's taken that. What I really like about that issue, it's taken products, not products. It's taken byproducts or waste from that would normally go to the landfill and can be digested and produce methane gas, which is natural gas. And they got the technology now; they can clean that up as well. You can put that in the natural gas pipelines or burn it and generate electricity. So there's a lot of things we can be doing, and that's what we need to be doing. Yes, sir.
I own a small manufacturing business in Tuscarawas County, and I listened to Obama say that he was going to give me, a small business, tax credits for hiring people. What's the first prerequisite to hiring somebody? I have to have work for them, correct? Or am I just supposed to go out and hire them and let them sit on the step and pay them?
Well, that question came up today.
We have to have the economy moving for me to get work.
That's right.
Before I'm going to go out and hire anybody. Now, if you're a union, you can go do that. They pay people for sitting around.
The congressmen will tell you that when they passed the $787 billion, and now it's almost $1 trillion stimulus, that was a third of that or whatever is tax cuts. Well, they're not being really that honest about it, because what they did, the way I see it, they passed quote little mini stimuluses, part of the big stimulus. And I'll give you an example. You see the ad on TV, if you replace your windows, you can get a $1,500 tax credit. That's what they did. They passed things, if you do certain things that they want you to do, okay, then you can get this tax credit. Well, here's the issue I see. Let's just use the windows as an example. Let's say your house doesn't need new windows. Okay, you can't get that. Now, your neighbor needs new windows, so he gets it. And so, you know, what they should have done, and I just met some guy today, he said, you know, I just put up new windows in my house 3 years ago. I guess I did 3 years too early. So, what we need to have is true, real tax cuts, and let the people decide how they want to use their money, and not the government telling them. Well, I better go over here.
Real quick, Bob, the proof of the pudding is we're less than a month away from the election, and the Democrats are home now, and they're not talking about stimulus, health care, or any of this stuff. They don't, you know, they don't even believe it.
Yeah, well, you heard the pundits say that every Democrat that voted for health care, not one of them is campaigning on that. And you know, this ought to be a huge red flag. This is the first time in American history, I'm pretty confident in this, where it's 1/6 of the economy, affects every American the way it's designed because it's a mandatory thing, and not one person in the minority party voted for it. And you know, our polling's showing over 70% of people want it repealed.
Right.
So I mean, it's just incredible. And of course, Zach will tell you that he did vote for it. You know, but then, you know, he voted for the House version, voted against the final version, then there was a motion to recommit, to reconsider, and he voted not to recommit or reconsider, so he flip-flopped twice.
But wasn't his final vote held off until the very last?
Yeah, when
minute?
Representative Stuback
Yeah.
folded, yes, and brought about 20 votes because of the abortion issue. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
Yes.
last letter before that said he was gonna vote for it.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, what? Okay.
Ron Foraker, if, you go to Washington, will you push back hard when the liberals try to paint conservatives in one light? I'll give you an example. Sharon Angle out in, Nevada is getting beat up right now for talking about Jews.
Talks about what?
She was talking to one of, the guys in the race out there about she would have the juice if she went to Washington.
Jews, the Jewish people.
Jews or?
Juice.
Juice.
Juice,
Yeah.
J-U-I-C-E?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like she would have access to, different Republican senators. Well, she's getting beat up out in Nevada right now for that tape conversation.
Yeah,
that
no, I
she-
hadn't heard that.
Okay, well, her opponent, Harry Reid, he used taxpayer money to buy votes to get the health care bill passed in the Senate. He used taxpayer
Yeah,
dues.
the Cornerstone kickback and Louisiana Purchase.
And, you know, Republicans or conservatives, we
Yeah.
can have conservative Democrats. Conservatives need to push back hard because, you know, when somebody talks about using connections in Washington and gets beat over the head with that, and her opponent actually used taxpayer money to
Yeah,
pass
it
the
sounds
healthcare.
like something was taken out of context or misrepresented there. You know, I think that just kind of thought, you know, a week and a half ago, the Republican House caucus put out the Pledge to America, and I was in Washington last week and discussed, and you know, there is some specifics in there. It's not all general, but it's a lot of philosophical. I mean, this is what we're going to do, and I've had this conversation with our members and our leadership in the minority, and they're like me. They're committed. Cut the spending, cut the taxes, and get less government. And John Boehner said that we're going to repeal health care.
Yeah.
President
Yay.
Obama is
Yay.
probably going to. And then he's gone on to say, we're not going to fund one red penny, okay? And that's the interesting thing about this Obamacare thing. The 16,000 plus IRS agents, you know, come on board, and all these costs come on board, but the so-called benefits are down the road.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of good from the aspect, because once people get so-called benefits, it's harder to make changes. So I think there will be a big fight next year, probably, over the budget and funding of health care.
Well,